citizens' rights, the divorce bill and other separation issues will be discussed in technical working groups today in the first of 3 days of talks. Tuesday is listed as a coordinators' session and Wednesday appears to be a day off before the principals' meeting on Thursday. This is usually followed by a joint press briefing from Brexit Secretary David Davis and his European Union counterpart Michel Barnier. The latest talks open against a backdrop of growing frustration on the British team, with Theresa May warning EU chiefs the ball is in your court. A fifth round of Brexit talks is getting underway. Theresa May is said to be growing increasingly frustrated with Brussels. It takes two to tango, so we now want the EU to step up and reciprocate. Justice Minister Dominic Raab, the Prime Minister, said Brussels must stop its stonewalling and wants EU negotiators to come back with a constructive response to her proposals for a future trade deal. She is understood to be irritated. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and his negotiator Mr. Barnier have failed to come up with a serious counteroffer to the Brexit proposals she set out in her keynote speech in Florence last month. Mrs. May plans to tell MPs the ball is in the EU's court when it comes to negotiating a deal. But the European Commission hit back and insisted it was up to Britain, not the EU, to make progress in divorce negotiations with the European Union to enable the opening of talks on the future relationship. Spokesman Margarita Scheena said there is a clear sequencing to these talks and there has been so far no solution found on step 1, which is the divorce proceedings. So the ball is entirely in the UK court for the rest to happen, and the UK can always refer to the debate in the European plenary in Strasbourg on the subject. The EU negotiating team are holding out for a far higher sum, but Britain will refuse to tell Europe how much it is prepared to pay to settle the so-called Brexit bill. Justice Minister Dominic Raab called on Brussels to take the significant steps needed to strike a beneficial Brexit deal with the UK. He said, "You've got to go into these negotiations with the generosity of spirit. We've done that. We have shown the detail of our plans. We have extended the arm of friendship." Friday, September 29, 2017, German Chancellor Angela Merkel gestures prior to the tour to table of the Tallinn Digital Summit during a European Union summit in Tallinn, Estonia. It takes two to tango, so we now want the EU to step up and reciprocate, he told BBC Sunday Politics. This planning goes on. It's right that it does, because of the Prime Minister's clear point of view that we need to search and hope for the best, strive for the best outcome for these negotiations, but prepare for all eventualities. We want to send the right, positive tone to our EU partners. We've done that with the Florence speech. The Prime Minister set out a very positive vision for Brexit and we want to get the best. Getty. David Davis will be meeting business chiefs in London as Brexit talks resume. Brexit Secretary David Davis will not be in Brussels for the opening sessions but will instead be joining Mrs. May, Chancellor Philip Hammond and other senior colleagues at a meeting with leading industry figures. The Business Advisory Council session is being held to reassure business leaders that the Brexit process is on track. Companies including Aston Martin, HSBC, Morgan Stanley and Vodafone will be among those at the talks, which follows warnings from RBS Chairman Sir Howard Davies that the damage to the city from Brexit is going to be quite considerable over time.